The council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of gleaming crystal. 47 species sat in their designated sections, their forms ranging from gaseous clouds to rock-like beings that barely moved. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the human section, a tiny box near the back where the newest members always sat. The Krithax Dominion occupied the center platform. They were massive creatures, twice the height of humans, with 4 arms and scales that shimmered like oil on water. For 12,000 years they had ruled the Galactic Council. Every species feared them. Every species obeyed them. Chen pressed the request button on his console. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. The Krithax High Commander Velthor turned one of his 3 eyes toward the human section. The primitives wish to speak, Velthor announced. Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel laughter, but the kind adults make when a child says something amusing. Chen kept his face neutral. He had learned this much in his 2 years representing Earth. Show no anger, show no fear. Just speak clearly and hope they listen. Honorable Council, Chen began. 3 of our colony ships have been attacked in the past month. Pirates from the Vextal region. We request permission to deploy defensive fleet elements to protect our trade routes. More laughter. A blob-like delegate from the Quillan Collective made a gurgling sound that Chen's translator rendered as, "How adorable." Velthor raised one clawed hand. The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Chen, your species relies on... What do you call them? Bullets? He said the word as if it tasted bad. You throw metal at your enemies. Like cavemen throwing rocks. We use kinetic weapons, yes, Chen said carefully. But our escort vessels are quite capable of... Denied. Velthor interrupted. The Council does not permit Category 4 species to deploy military vessels beyond their home system. You may purchase escort services from approved contractors. This discussion is closed. Chen sat down. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair, but his face remained calm. Around the galaxy, 47 species used plasma weapons, energy beams, and gravity manipulators. Only humans still used guns and missiles. It made them a joke. 3 weeks later, Captain Sarah Okonkwo sat in the command chair of the UES Dauntless. Through the viewport, she could see the 5 human freighters they were escorting, fat ships, slow ships carrying manufactured goods to the colony on Proxima 7. Contact, her sensor officer called out. Multiple ships emerging from hyperspace. Configuration matches Vextal pirates. Sarah leaned forward. How many? 6 vessels. Frigate class. Sarah tapped her console. The Dauntless was alone. The approved contractors the Council had recommended cost too much. Earth's government had quietly decided to send one of their own ships instead. If the Council found out, there would be diplomatic consequences. But losing 3 cargo ships in a month had worse consequences. Hail them, Sarah ordered. The pirate response came immediately. Human vessel, stand down. We are claiming your cargo. Do not resist. Sarah looked at her weapons officer, Lieutenant Marcus Chen, no relation to the ambassador. Marcus, is the package ready? Marcus nodded slowly. The package. That's what they called it. The magnetic accelerator cannon mounted along the Dauntless's spine. 400 meters of superconducting coils that could accelerate a tungsten slug to 15% of light speed. Earth's engineers had built it in secret. They had tested it in secret. And now, far from home, far from the Council's watching eyes, Sarah had to decide if she would use it. They're firing on the freighters. The sensor officer reported. Energy weapons. The shields are holding, but not for long. Sarah made her decision. Marcus, target the lead pirate vessel. Fire when ready, the Dauntless hummed. Power from the fusion reactor flooded into the railgun's coils. The tungsten slug, weighing half a ton, sat in the firing chamber. Magnetic fields grabbed it, pulled it, accelerated it down the barrel. The slug left the Dauntless at 45,000 kilometers per second. It crossed the distance to the pirate ship in less than 3 seconds. The pirate's shields, designed to deflect plasma and lasers, might as well have been tissue paper. The slug punched through the shield, through the hull, through the reactor and out the other side. The pirate ship exploded. Not in a Hollywood fireball, but in a flash of light as metal turned to vapor. The other 5 pirate ships immediately jumped to hyperspace, fleeing as fast as their engines could carry them. Target destroyed, Marcus said. His voice was quiet, almost confused. Ma'am, the slug kept going. Sarah looked at the trajectory plot. The tungsten slug, barely slowed by passing through the pirate ship, continued on its path. At 0.15 light speed, it would keep traveling for years, forever, until it hit something. 2 days later, the council's emergency session began. Every delegate was present. The chamber was silent. Velthor's scales had turned a dark purple, which Chen had learned meant anger or fear, possibly both. The humans, Velthor said slowly, have destroyed the monument of Vextal Prime. Chen stood. He had been summoned immediately after the reports came in. High Commander, I am told that our escort vessel defended a convoy against pirates. I was not aware that any monument was damaged. Damaged? Velthor's voice rose. Your weapon, your primitive metal slug, continued traveling after destroying the pirate vessel. It struck the monument of Vextal Prime. The monument was 2 million kilometers from the battle. The slug had not slowed. The monument and the station surrounding it no longer exist. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded human expulsion from the council. Others called for sanctions. A few simply stared at Chen in horror. Velthor raised all forearms. Silence fell. Ambassador Chen, this council banned kinetic weapons 8,000 years ago. You will surrender all such weapons immediately. You will submit to inspection. You will— No, Chen said. The silence that followed was absolute. No one said no to the Dominion. No one. Explain yourself, Velthor said, his voice dangerously soft. Chen took a breath. My government has reviewed the council's laws. Kinetic weapons are banned above 0.01 light speed. Our weapon fired at 0.15 light speed. This is true. However, Earth never signed that treaty. We were not members of this council 8,000 years ago. We are not bound by laws we did not agree to. Then you will agree now, Velthor said, or face the consequences. Chen looked around the chamber. 47 species. All of them watching. All of them waiting to see if humanity would bow. We will defend ourselves, Chen said quietly, with whatever weapons we possess. The council's physics team worked for 3 days straight. They analyzed every sensor reading from the Dauntless's weapon. They studied the trajectory of the tungsten slug. They calculated, recalculated, and calculated again. Dr. Thexelin, a mantis-like being from the Scalarium species, presented the findings. His voice clicked and whistled, translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. The energy required to stop this projectile is 900 times greater than the energy required to fire it. The chamber was silent. Delegates processed this information. Some looked confused. Others looked sick. Explain in simple terms, Velthor demanded. Thexelin's antennae twitched nervously. High Commander, our shields work by redirecting energy. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, we push them aside or absorb them. But a solid object moving at relativistic speeds. He paused. There is too much momentum. The shields cannot redirect it. They simply fail. What about multiple shields? Someone asked. It does not matter. 1 shield or 100 shields. At these speeds, matter is matter. Solid metal carries more kinetic energy than any energy weapon we possess. The human projectile that destroyed the monument, it hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon, and it was only half a ton of tungsten. A delegate from the peaceful Yulian Harmony spoke up. Surely our armor makes it worse, Thexelin interrupted. When a relativistic projectile hits armor, both the armor and the projectile vaporize. The expanding plasma is often more destructive than the initial impact. The Vextal monument was not simply destroyed. It was converted to gas. Velthor's scales shifted to dark purple again. Why did we ban these weapons? An elderly delegate from the archival species shuffled forward. She was small, wrinkled, and had been alive for over 300 years. I remember the war, she said softly. Though it was long before most of you were born, the chamber leaned forward. The archival species rarely spoke. When they did, people listened. The Builder's civilization, she continued. They were the most advanced species in the galaxy. They had technology we still cannot replicate. But they had rivals. 2 factions fighting for control. And they both discovered the same truth the humans have just shown us. Kinetic weapons are simple, kinetic weapons are cheap, and kinetic weapons, when accelerated fast enough, are unstoppable. She tapped a control. Holograms appeared above the chamber. Star systems rendered in 3 dimensions, except many of the systems were marked in red. The dead zones, she said. 23 star systems where nothing can live. The space between those systems is filled with debris moving at relativistic speeds. Millions of projectiles fired during the Builder's War, still traveling through space. Any ship that enters those regions is destroyed. Any planet in their path is sterilized. The builders fired so many kinetic weapons that they created permanent death traps in the galaxy. She looked directly at Chen. The builders destroyed themselves. Their civilization collapsed not because one side won, but because both sides made the galaxy unlivable. After their fall, the surviving species created this council. And the very first law, the most sacred law, was this: no kinetic weapons above .01 light speed. We did not know, Chen said quietly. Earth's history has wars, yes, terrible wars. But we never fought across multiple star systems. Ignorance is not an excuse, Velthor said. You have violated the first law. You will surrender your weapons. Chen straightened. No. We will not. Then we will take them by force, Velthor replied. 2 days later, Chen received an encrypted message from Earth. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. Then he requested an emergency session with the council. When the delegates assembled, Chen stood at the central podium. The Galactic Council has demanded that Earth surrender its kinetic weapons, he began. My government has sent a response, but first they wish to demonstrate something. We do not need demonstrations, Velthor said. We have seen what your weapons can do. No, Chen said. You have seen what our smallest weapon can do. The chamber fell silent. Every delegate stared at Chen. The Dauntless carries one railgun, Chen continued. A prototype. We built it to test the technology. But that was 20 years ago. We have had 2 decades to improve the design. To scale it up, he activated his console. Images appeared throughout the chamber. Massive structures in space. Rings around planets. Networks of satellites and stations. For 200 years, humanity has built infrastructure in our solar system. We use magnetic accelerators to move cargo. We launch ore from asteroid mines to processing stations. We boost supply ships to our outer colonies. Every day we accelerate thousands of tons of material using the same technology as our railgun. A delegate from the mercantile Torgon species leaned forward. You built weapons into your cargo systems? No, Chen said. We built cargo systems that could become weapons. Every mass driver in the solar system can be recalibrated. Every cargo launcher can fire projectiles instead of supply containers. Velthor stood. You are threatening the council? I am informing the council, Chen replied. You demanded to know our capabilities. Here they are. We can launch projectiles from Earth, from Luna, from Mars, from the asteroid belt. We can accelerate them to .25 light speed. And we have been stockpiling ammunition. He showed another image. Tungsten rods, millions of them floating in orbital warehouses. Each rod weighs 10 tons. We have 500,000 of them, and we can manufacture more at a rate of 10,000 per month. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted, argued, and demanded explanations. Some called Chen a warmonger. Others simply looked terrified. We do not wish for war, Chen said, speaking over the noise. But we will not be defenseless. You dismissed us as primitives. You laughed at our kinetic weapons. But our primitiveness is precisely why we are dangerous. We did not forget how to throw rocks. We just learned to throw them faster. Velthor's forearms trembled. This is insanity. You would turn the galaxy into another dead zone? Only if forced to defend ourselves, Chen replied. We propose an alternative. Mutually assured deterrence. Give us our rightful place on this council. Recognize our sovereignty, and we will share our technology with species who wish only to defend themselves. Never, Velthor spat. The Dominion will not bow to primitives. Chen met his gaze. Then the Dominion should be very careful not to give us a reason to fire. The council demanded proof. They wanted to see the scale of humanity's capabilities. They wanted to know if Chen was bluffing. Earth's government agreed to a demonstration. They chose an uninhabited star system on the edge of known space. Every major species sent observation ships to watch from a safe distance. Admiral Hassan stood on the bridge of the UES Sovereignty. Around him, his crew worked quietly, professionally. This was humanity's moment. The galaxy was watching. Target confirmed, the navigation officer reported. Asteroid KX-447, mass approximately 50 million tons. Hassan nodded. The asteroid had been selected because it was large, stable, and in a predictable orbit. After the demonstration, it would not be in orbit at all. All stations, this is Admiral Hassan. Begin acceleration sequence. Across the Sol system, hundreds of mass drivers activated. On Luna, in the asteroid belt on Mars, on orbital platforms, magnetic coils powered up. The tungsten slug they would fire today was not a half-ton prototype. It was a solid cylinder of tungsten measuring 30 meters long and 5 meters wide. It weighed 5,000 tons. The Council observers watched their sensors as energy readings spiked across human space. A Quilon scientist aboard one of the observation ships made gurgling sounds of disbelief. "That power level cannot be right," she said to her colleagues. "They are channeling enough energy to run a small city into a single projectile," her assistant added quietly. In Sol system, the final calculations completed. The asteroid's position, velocity, and trajectory had been measured down to the centimeter. The projectile's launch window was measured in microseconds. "All systems green," the weapons officer reported. "Ready to fire on your command." Hassan took a breath. "Fire." The magnetic pulse traveled through hundreds of kilometers of superconducting coils. The tungsten cylinder accelerated smoothly, building speed. In 3 seconds, it left the mass driver at 75,000 kilometers per second. 1/4 the speed of light. The observation ships tracked it. The projectile was moving so fast that even light-speed sensors had difficulty following it. It would take the slug 3 weeks to reach its target. But every ship in the galaxy could calculate exactly where it would be at any moment. "Projectile away," Hassan announced. "Impact in 21 days, 4 hours and 17 minutes. On the bridge of the Krethax observation vessel, Commander Zelkoth watched the numbers scroll across his display. "They really did it," he said softly. "They weaponized their entire solar system." His science officer nodded. "Yes, Commander. And that projectile, our shields would not even slow it down." 21 days later, every major species had ships in position. They maintained a distance of 10 million kilometers from the target asteroid. At these ranges, they would be safe from debris. The tungsten cylinder arrived exactly on schedule. Exactly on target. It struck the asteroid at 0.25 light speed. At those speeds, matter behaves strangely. The tungsten did not simply punch through the asteroid. The kinetic energy converted both the projectile and a massive chunk of the asteroid into plasma. Temperatures spiked to millions of degrees. The asteroid, all 50 million tons of it, shattered. But the energy release was not finished. The plasma expanded outward at significant fractions of light speed. The remaining fragments of the asteroid, superheated and moving at tremendous velocities, scattered across the star system. For exactly 7 minutes, the target area glowed. From the observation ships, it looked like a second sun had briefly appeared in the system. When the light faded, the asteroid was gone. In its place was an expanding cloud of gas and small debris. "Mother of oceans," the Quilon scientist whispered. Her translator caught the phrase, though it lost the religious significance in translation. On the Dominion vessel, Commander Zelkoth ran the numbers. "If that had been a planet?" "Extinction-level impact," his science officer replied. "Nothing larger than bacteria would survive. The atmosphere would be stripped away. The oceans would boil." Back on Earth, Ambassador Chen received reports from multiple sources. The demonstration had been witnessed. The message had been received. And now responses were coming in. 17 species requested immediate diplomatic meetings with Earth. Not with the Council. With Earth directly. The peaceful Yulian Harmony sent a simple message. "We wish to purchase defensive kinetic systems." The mercantile Torgon species was more direct. "Name your price for weapon systems and exclusive trade rights." Even the Vextal, the same species whose pirates had triggered this crisis, sent a formal apology and a request for trade negotiations. But the Dominion was silent. Captain Sarah Okonkwo sat in a debriefing room on Earth. Across from her sat 3 admirals, 2 generals and Ambassador Chen. "You fired the first shot," one of the admirals said. "It was not an accusation, just a statement of fact." "I defended a convoy," Sarah replied, "following my orders." "And changed the galaxy," Chen added. He looked tired. "Every species now knows what humans can do. Some are frightened. Some want to be our allies. And the Dominion," he trailed off. "The Dominion is planning something," one of the generals said. "Our intelligence suggests they are assembling a war fleet. The largest fleet in thousands of years." Sarah felt cold. "How large?" 300,000 ships. "Every vessel the Dominion controls." The room was silent. 300,000 ships. The Dominion was calling humanity's bluff. They believed that overwhelming numbers could defeat kinetic weapons. They believed that speed and coordination could overcome simple physics. When? Sarah asked. Within the month. They will quantum jump directly to Earth's orbit. Their shields will be at maximum. They think they can weather our initial barrage and then destroy our infrastructure before we can reload. Admiral Hassan, who had overseen the demonstration, spoke for the first time. They are wrong. We knew this might happen. We prepared for it. He activated a holographic display. It showed the Sol system. But now added to the map were thousands of new objects, small objects, projectiles already in flight. We launched these 2 months ago, Hassan explained, long before the Council's ultimatum. Long before our demonstration, we calculated every possible quantum jump point an enemy fleet could use to attack Earth, and we fired projectiles to intercept those points. Sarah understood immediately. You made a minefield. A minefield of relativistic projectiles. Exactly. The Dominion can jump anywhere they want. But we have already filled the likely arrival zones with tungsten slugs. They will emerge from quantum space directly into our weapons. Chen looked at the display. Thousands of projectiles, each moving at 0.2 light speed, each carrying enough kinetic energy to vaporize a ship. If they jump to Earth? Hassan smiled grimly. Then they jump into the largest ambush in galactic history. The Dominion war fleet assembled in the Kelvac system, 300 light-years from Earth. 300,000 ships filled the space around the system's star. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, carriers holding thousands of fighters, cruisers bristling with weapons. High Commander Velthor stood on the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, the Dominion's flagship. Around him, his officers prepared for the jump to Earth. They had planned this operation for weeks. Every detail had been considered. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Velthor gazed at the holographic display showing his fleet. The greatest military force ever assembled. The humans think their rocks can stop us, he said. They forget that we have ruled this galaxy for 12,000 years. We have fought wars they cannot imagine. His strategic advisor, Commander Zelkoth, shifted uncomfortably. High Commander, our intelligence suggests the humans may have anticipated our approach. Perhaps we should. We have 300,000 ships, Velthor interrupted. They have one planet. Even if their kinetic weapons destroy half our fleet, we will still overwhelm them. Yes, High Commander. Velthor raised one clawed hand. All ships. Jump coordinates locked on Earth's orbital space. Maximum shields upon emergence. Fire on all planetary defense platforms immediately. Begin jump sequence. Throughout the fleet, quantum drives activated. Space twisted. And 300,000 Dominion ships vanished from the Kelvac system. On Earth, Admiral Hassan watched the countdown. 3 minutes until the Dominion fleet arrived. 2 minutes. 1 minute. All defense platforms armed, his weapons officer reported. Mass drivers charged. Counter battery systems active. Hassan nodded. Around Earth, Luna, and Mars, every defense installation was ready. But the real trap was already sprung. The projectiles were already in position. 30 seconds, the sensor officer called out. Hassan activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Hassan. Hold fire on my command. Let them arrive. Let them see what they have jumped into. The Dominion fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect formation. 300,000 ships materialized in Earth's orbital space, their shields glowing with power. For exactly 2 seconds, they were triumphant. Then the first tungsten slugs arrived. The projectiles had been fired weeks ago, timed to intercept the most likely jump points. The Dominion had emerged exactly where human strategists predicted. And now they sat in the middle of a weapons envelope moving at 0.2 light speed. The impacts began. Dominion shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, did nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The first wave of slugs tore through the formation like a shotgun blast through paper. Ships exploded. Not with fire, there is no fire in space, but with the bright flash of matter converting to energy. Entire cruisers vanished in microseconds. Carriers split apart, their internal structures unable to handle the stress of hypervelocity impacts. On the Eternal Conquest's bridge, alarms screamed. Velthor stared at his displays in disbelief. Report. Contacts. Thousands of contacts. Kinetic projectiles throughout our formation. The tactical officer's voice was panicked. Shields are not stopping them. Ships are breaking up across all battle groups. Evasive maneuvers, Velthor ordered. But at relativistic speeds there was no time for evasive maneuvers. The projectiles were already among them. More ships died, then more. The battle network lit up with distress signals. 90 seconds after arrival, 270,000 Dominion ships were destroyed or disabled. The survivors scattered, trying desperately to escape the killing zone. Now Earth's defense platforms opened fire. Fresh railgun rounds streaked out, targeting the fleeing ships. Mass drivers on Luna added their weight to the barrage. The defensive fire was not random. Every shot had been calculated, every trajectory planned. A Dominion carrier attempted to jump to hyperspace. A tungsten rod caught it mid-transition. The ship tore apart, half in normal space and half in the quantum realm. Commander Zelkoth watched his display with horror. 300,000 ships, the pride of the Dominion, reduced to 30,000 in less than 3 minutes. "High Commander," he said quietly. "We must surrender." Velthor's scales had gone from purple to gray, a color Zelkoth had never seen before. The High Commander stared at the tactical display. 70 ships destroyed every second. The mathematics were simple. At this rate, the entire fleet would be gone in 7 minutes. "How?" Velthor whispered. "How did they know exactly where we would emerge?" "They fired blind weeks ago," Zelkoth explained. "They saturated every possible jump point with projectiles. It does not matter that most of their shots missed. Enough of them hit." On Earth, Admiral Hassan watched the Dominion fleet die. A part of him felt sick. This was not glory. This was slaughter. But it was necessary slaughter. The Dominion had come to destroy Earth. They had brought overwhelming force. They had been certain of victory. They had forgotten that in war, technology matters less than strategy. And strategy matters less than physics. "Incoming message from the Dominion flagship," his communications officer reported. Hassan nodded. "Put it through." Velthor's image appeared. The proud High Commander looked broken. "We surrender, please." "Stop firing." Hassan gestured to his weapons officer. "Cease fire. All platforms hold." The railgun barrage stopped. The Dominion survivors drifted in Earth's orbit, their shields down, their weapons powered off. "High Commander," Hassan said formally, "your fleet will remain in orbit. You will make no aggressive moves. Any ship that activates weapons or attempts to jump will be destroyed. Do you understand?" "Yes." Velthor's voice was barely a whisper. Hassan switched to another channel. "This is Admiral Hassan to all Galactic Council members. The Dominion attack on Earth has been repelled. Dominion forces have surrendered. Earth claims the right of defense under all galactic laws." Across the galaxy, species watched the aftermath. The debris field around Earth told the story. The most powerful military force in galactic history had been destroyed in minutes. By rocks. By simple tungsten slugs accelerated to absurd speeds. On the observation ship from the Yulian Harmony, the captain turned to her crew. "Record everything," she said softly. "We have just witnessed the end of the old order. The galaxy will never be the same." Back on the Eternal Conquest, Velthor sat in his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew worked to organize the survivors. 30,000 ships remained from 300,000. 1 in 10 had survived. "Commander Zelkoth," Velthor said quietly, "send a message to all Dominion territories. Tell them the humans have won." Zelkoth hesitated. "High Commander, the Council will want to know." "The Council will know soon enough. The Dominion's reign is over, ended by primitives who never forgot how to throw rocks." Velthor's laugh was bitter. "We thought ourselves so advanced, so superior. We forgot the universe's simplest truth." "What truth, High Commander?" "That force equals mass times acceleration. And the humans have mastered both." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so full. Every species sent their highest representatives. Even species that rarely left their homeworld sent delegates. They came to witness history. The Dominion section sat empty except for Commander Zelkoth. High Commander Velthor had resigned in disgrace. The Dominion's government had collapsed. Their emperor had abdicated. In one battle, 12,000 years of supremacy had ended. Ambassador Chen stood at the central podium. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Earth. 6 months of negotiations, treaties, and careful diplomacy. "Honored delegates," Chen began, "we are here to vote on the Kinetic Age Accords. These accords will reshape how our galaxy approaches defense and security." A delegate from the archival species stood. She was the same elderly woman who had explained the Builders' War. Ambassador Chen, your proposal frightens many of us. You wish to share kinetic weapons technology with any species that requests it. This could lead to another dead zone catastrophe. Chen nodded. I understand your fear. But consider the alternative. For 12,000 years, the Council maintained peace through the Dominion's dominance. One species held all the power. One species decided who could have weapons. One species controlled everyone else. And it worked, someone called out, did it? Chen asked. Pirates attacked our colonies with impunity. Smaller species were exploited. The Council dismissed our defensive needs with laughter. That is not peace. That is oppression by a different name. Zelkoth stood. The ambassador is correct. The Dominion, my people used our strength to control, not to protect. We believed ourselves superior. We were wrong, Chen continued. The Kinetic Age Accords propose a different model. Mutually assured deterrence. Every species capable of extinction-level kinetic strikes means no species dares to oppress another. Armed societies are polite societies. But the Builders' War, the archival delegate protested, the dead zones, happened because two factions fought for supremacy, Chen replied. Neither could accept losing. But if everyone has the ability to destroy everyone else, then no one can win by aggression. War becomes impossible because victory becomes impossible. A delegate from the peaceful Yulian Harmony spoke. You are proposing to make the galaxy more dangerous to make it more safe? Yes, Chen said simply. Earth's history includes a period we call the Cold War. Two human nations had weapons that could destroy all life on our planet. For 50 years they opposed each other. And for 50 years they never used those weapons. Because both sides knew that starting a war meant ending the world. But you are only one species on one planet, the Yulian delegate said. The galaxy has 47 species across 10,000 worlds. Which is why the Accords include strict regulations, Chen explained. Kinetic weapons may only be used in defense. Any species that fires first without provocation will face sanctions from every other species. We will share detection technology so every launch is visible to everyone. Transparency, not secrecy. The debate continued for hours. Some species supported the Accords immediately. Others were hesitant. A few opposed them entirely. Finally, the vote was called. The results appeared on displays throughout the chamber. 39 species in favor, 6 against, 2 abstaining. The Kinetic Age Accords passed. Chen felt relief wash over him. It was not perfect. But it was better than the old system. Better than domination by the strongest. Over the following months, Earth began sharing technology. The Yulian Harmony requested defensive mass drivers. The Torgon species purchased plans for magnetic accelerators. Even some former Dominion colonies requested Earth's help building their own defense networks. Captain Sarah Okonkwo, now Admiral Sarah Okonkwo, commanded the first joint human-alien fleet. Her flagship was the UES Unity, a new class of vessel designed with input from 17 species. She stood on the bridge with her crew. Humans, yes, but also a Kelon navigator, a Yulian tactical officer, and a young Dominion engineer who had requested asylum on Earth. Admiral, her communications officer called. We have a distress signal from a colony in the outer reaches. Pirate attack, Sarah smiled. Set course. Maximum speed. Let us show these pirates what happens when you threaten peaceful settlements. The Unity jumped to hyperspace. With it went 50 other ships. Human vessels, Yulian frigates, Torgon corvettes. An alliance fleet responding to a threat. The pirates took one look at the approaching force and fled without firing a shot. Back on Earth, Ambassador Chen met with a group of students from the Diplomatic Academy. They were young, eager, and full of questions. Ambassador Chen, one student asked, some people say you started a war. Others say you prevented one. Which is true? Chen thought about his answer. Both, perhaps. We demonstrated that humanity would not be victims. We showed the galaxy that even primitives can be dangerous. But we also showed them a path forward. A way for everyone to be equals. Do you think the Kinetic Age Accords will last? Another student asked. I do not know, Chen admitted. Peace is not a destination. It is a constant effort. But I believe we have given the galaxy a chance to move beyond domination and submission, a chance for true cooperation. Years later, on a frontier colony world, a human teacher stood before a classroom of mixed species. Human children sat beside Dominion youth, Yulian students, and Torgon apprentices. Today, the teacher said. We will learn about the Battle of Earth. Can anyone tell me why it was important? A Dominion child raised her hand. Because the humans reminded us that simple solutions can be powerful solutions? Very good, the teacher said. The galaxy had become so focused on advanced technology that we forgot basic principles. We forgot that physics does not care about sophistication. Energy is energy. Momentum is momentum. My father says the humans taught us an old Earth saying. A human boy added, walk softly and carry a big stick. The Dominion child looked confused. What does that mean? The teacher smiled. It means be peaceful but be ready to defend yourself. Be kind but be strong, and if possible, make sure your stick moves at 1/4 of light speed. The class laughed. Even the Dominion children laughed. They had been born into a different galaxy than their parents. A galaxy where no single species ruled. A galaxy where peace came not from one power dominating all others, but from everyone respecting everyone else. In her retirement home on Luna, Admiral Sarah Okonkwo looked out at the stars. She was old now. Her hands shook, but her mind was clear. She thought about that day on the Dauntless, the day she fired the first railgun shot, the day she changed the galaxy without meaning to. Did I do the right thing? She wondered aloud. Her granddaughter, visiting from Earth, squeezed her hand. Grandmother, 47 species live in peace now. No one rules over anyone else. No one is dismissed as primitive. Yes, you did the right thing. Sarah smiled. We just threw rocks. Very fast rocks. Sometimes, her granddaughter said, the simplest solutions are the best ones. Sarah looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships patrolled alongside alien vessels. Former enemies worked together. The galaxy had changed. All because humanity had never forgotten that velocity is the ultimate equalizer, and that sometimes, the most advanced thing you can do is remember the basics. The giant spaceship of the Nigma Empire moved slowly through space toward the much smaller human ship. Commander Kate Winters watched from the window of her ship, the EDS Challenger. The Nigma ship was huge, at least 20 times bigger than any human ship, with a smooth surface that seemed to swallow light instead of reflecting it. They're calling us again, Commander, said Lieutenant Frank Bennett from his station. Same message as before. Kate nodded. The Nigma Empire had found Earth only 3 months ago. Since then, they kept saying the same thing. Join our empire. Or face the consequences. Humans, now united as the Earth Alliance, wanted to talk instead of just giving in. Open the channel, Kate said, fixing her uniform. The screen turned on, showing Admiral Zekatar. He had purple scaly skin and 8 eyes that blinked on their own. He looked at her with what she knew was amusement. Commander Winters, he said, his voice sounding smooth because of the translator. Your kind still makes me laugh. You still think you can talk terms with the Nigma Empire. Kate kept her polite smile. Admiral, we looked at your plan for Earth to join your empire. We have a different plan to suggest. All 8 of the Admiral's eyes blinked at once, which was how the Nigma showed laughter. There is no other plan, Commander. You either accept or die. You humans don't understand the simple truth. Power is everything, and the Nigma Empire has all the power. What we understand, Admiral, Kate said carefully, is that your empire is growing too fast. You're using too many resources. The way you travel faster than light has caused problems in space in 3 sectors. The Admiral's face changed, his upper eyes getting narrow. You talk about things you don't understand. Actually, Kate went on, our scientists have studied the strange things your ships leave behind. We've found a pattern that's getting worse. If you keep using your current faster-than-light technology, you risk causing a chain reaction of failures. Human pride. The Admiral shouted. Your kind has barely learned to travel between stars, and you think you can teach the Nigma Empire about physics we mastered 10,000 years ago? Kate kept looking right at him. Sometimes new eyes see what old eyes have stopped noticing. We're sending our findings to you now. At least look at them before you dismiss our concerns. The Admiral waved his hand. I will let my scientists look at your simple analysis, if only to show how wrong it is. You have 3 days to get your world ready to join us. Any resistance will lead to immediate destruction. The call ended, and Kate let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Do you think they'll actually look at our data? Frank asked, quietly. Kate turned away from the screen, her face serious. No, but we tried talking first. Now we get ready for Plan B. Dr. Alan Meyer bent over his desk in the underground lab deep in the Rocky Mountains. Around him, many of Earth's best scientists and engineers worked quietly but intensely. They had been working for weeks ever since the Nigma Empire had ignored humanity's warnings about their faster-than-light technology. How are the test runs looking? Asked Dr. Olivia Grant, who helped lead the project, as she walked to Alan's desk. Alan pointed at the 3D image floating above his desk. Not good. According to our models, the Nigma have already gone past the point of no return. The fabric of space around their main travel routes is showing tiny cracks. If they make another big jump with their fleet... He didn't finish his sentence. The test run showed it clearly enough. A spreading tear that would eat up not just the ships using the route but possibly entire star systems along the break lines. We need to warn them again, Olivia said, rubbing her tired eyes. More strongly this time. They didn't listen before. Why would they listen now? Alan asked. The lab doors opened, and Commander Kate Winters walked in with General Laura Reyes, of Earth Alliance Defense. Because this time, Kate said, having heard their talk, we'll be showing them, not just explaining. General Reyes nodded grimly. The Security Council has approved Operation Cassandra. We're sending a team to the Proxima Centauri testing grounds. Alan stood up straight, suddenly not feeling as tired. You're going to show them a controlled test of the effect? Exactly, Kate confirmed. We've built a small version of their faster-than-light drive based on the scans we took. We're inviting the Nigma to watch what happens when we push it past the safe limit. They'll come, General Reyes added, if only because they're curious about how we copied their technology so quickly. Olivia looked worried. Even a controlled test is risky. The math has to be perfect to keep the reaction contained. Alan pulled up another test run. We've run this scenario hundreds of times. As long as we keep the safety field at exactly these settings, the reaction will stop itself before it can spread. Good, said Kate. Because we only get one chance to convince them. The Nigma fleet is still moving toward Earth. They'll be close enough to attack in less than 2 weeks. And if they don't believe us even after the demonstration? Alan asked. Quietly, General Reyes's face hardened. Then we used the backup plan. The room went silent as everyone thought about what that meant. The backup plan was a desperate move that might save humanity, but at a terrible cost. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Kate said firmly. Get your teams ready to leave for Proxima Centauri in 6 hours. We need everything ready before the Nigma observers arrive. Admiral Zakatar sat in his private chamber on the Nigma mothership, staring at the data the humans had sent. He didn't want to admit it, but their findings disturbed him. If they were right. His aide entered after a quick knock. Admiral, the human data has been analyzed by Science Division. And? The Admiral asked, not looking up. They say... The aide hesitated. They say the humans might be right. The space-time tears are real. Our scientists have noticed similar readings but thought they were... unimportant. The Admiral's scales darkened with anger. Unimportant? Why wasn't I told? The Science Council didn't think it was serious. They said the effect was too small to matter. Admiral Zakatar stood suddenly. Too small to matter? The humans are saying these small tears will join together and cause a disaster. Yes, Admiral. They call it a cascade failure. If they're right, and if our fleet makes another coordinated jump, the aide's voice trailed off. The Admiral paced the room. 10,000 years of Nigma dominance could not end because of a flaw in their technology. It was unthinkable. The humans had to be wrong. And yet, prepare my shuttle, he ordered. I will attend this human demonstration myself. I want to see their so-called evidence with my own eyes. As the aide left, Admiral Zakatar turned back to the data screens. For the first time in his long career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. What if the humans were right? What if the mighty Nigma Empire stood on the edge of disaster? He pushed the thought away. Impossible. The Nigma controlled thousands of worlds. Their technology was perfect. The humans were just trying to avoid conquest, weren't they? The testing area at Proxima Centauri buzzed with activity. Human scientists moved quickly, checking and rechecking their equipment. In the center of the main chamber sat a small version of the Nigma faster-than-light drive. It glowed with a soft, blue light that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Alan Meyer watched the final readings on his tablet. All systems are within normal range. The demonstration can begin on schedule. Olivia Grant nodded as she looked over his shoulder. The Nigma delegation has just arrived in orbit. They'll be down here in 30 minutes. Commander Kate Winters entered the control room, her face showing the strain of the last few days. Is everything ready? Yes, Alan said. We can show them exactly what will happen if they continue using their current drive technology. The simulation is perfect. Kate looked through the reinforced glass wall at the test chamber. It has to be perfect. Everything depends on this demonstration. If we can't convince the Nigma to change their ways, she didn't finish, but she didn't need to. Everyone knew what was at stake. The safety field generators are at full power, Olivia reported. Even if something goes wrong, the reaction won't spread beyond the test chamber. A young lieutenant rushed into the room. Commander, the Nigma shuttle has landed. Admiral Zikhtar is leading the delegation himself. Kate straightened her uniform. That's good news. If the Admiral sees the evidence firsthand, he might be able to convince the rest of the Nigma leadership. 20 minutes later, the Nigma delegation entered the observation area. Admiral Zikhtar led the group, his purple scales gleaming under the lights. Behind him came 5 other Nigma officials, including 2 that Kate recognized as senior scientists. Commander Winters, the Admiral said, his 8 eyes blinking in sequence. My scientists tell me your data is concerning. I have come to see your evidence myself, Kate nodded. Thank you for coming, Admiral. Dr. Meyer will explain the demonstration. Alan stepped forward, trying not to show his nervousness in front of the alien visitors. Admiral, we have created a small version of your FTL drive based on our scans. It operates on the same principles as your fleet's engines. One of the Nigma scientists moved closer, studying the drive through the glass. Impressive duplication for such a primitive species, he said, not trying to hide his surprise. Alan ignored the insult. We will run the drive at increasing power levels to show what happens when multiple drives operate in the same region of space. This simulates what occurs during a fleet-wide jump. Begin your demonstration, the Admiral ordered, all 8 eyes fixed on the test chamber. Alan nodded to one of the technicians. The blue glow from the drive intensified and strange patterns appeared in the air around it. What are those patterns? Asked one of the Nigma scientists. Those are microtears in space-time, Olivia explained. We've added a special particle that makes them visible. In real space you can't see them with the naked eye, but they're there. The patterns grew more complex as the power increased. The blue light began to shift toward purple. This represents the current state of your most used FTL routes, Alan explained. The microtears have begun to connect with each other. One of the Nigma scientists moved to a monitoring station, checking the readings. His scales paled slightly, a sign of concern in their species. Continue the demonstration, the Admiral ordered, his voice slightly less confident than before. Alan nodded to the technician again. The drive's power level jumped higher. Suddenly, the patterns in the air exploded outward in a web of bright lines. Where the drive had been, a swirling dark hole appeared, pulling everything nearby toward it. Alarms blared as the safety field activated, creating a barrier around the growing distortion. This, Kate said loudly over the noise, is what will happen the next time your fleet makes a coordinated jump. The microtears will connect, creating a cascade failure that will destroy your ships and possibly whole star systems along the FTL routes. The Nigma scientist at the monitoring station turned to Admiral Zikhtar, speaking rapidly in their own language. The Admiral's scales darkened with emotion. Safety field at 80% and dropping, reported a technician. We need to shut it. Down now. Begin shutdown sequence, Alan ordered. Complex machines hummed to life around the test chamber. Slowly, the dark hole began to shrink. The web of bright lines faded, though they didn't disappear completely. Note that even after we stop the reaction, Alan pointed out, the damage to space-time remains. It will heal naturally but very slowly, over hundreds of years. The damage your fleet has already caused is thousands of times worse. The room fell silent. The Nigma delegation stared at the test chamber, where the faint lines still floated in the air. Finally, Admiral Zikatar spoke. If what you show is true, what do you suggest? That the Nigma Empire stop using FTL travel? That we become trapped in our own star systems while humans expand freely? No, Kate replied. We suggest working together. Earth scientists have developed a different FTL method that doesn't damage space-time. It's a bit slower but completely safe. We're willing to share this technology with the Nigma Empire in exchange for peace. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. And we should simply trust you? You've seen the problem, Kate said calmly. We're offering a solution that helps us both. The other option is that everyone loses. Your fleet destroyed by a space-time tear and probably many Nigma worlds with it. One of the Nigma scientists stepped forward. Sir, their data matches strange readings our deep space stations have been reporting for years. Readings that our science leaders ordered us to ignore as unimportant. Admiral Zekatar was silent for a long moment. Kate could almost see the struggle happening behind those 8 eyes. The mighty Nigma Empire had never faced a situation like this before. Back on the Nigma mothership, Admiral Zekatar paced in his private chamber. The demonstration had shaken him deeply, though he tried not to show it in front of the humans. Could it be a trick? He asked the scientist who had examined the human data. No, Admiral, the scientist replied. I've checked their findings against our own monitoring data. The microtears exist, and they are growing. Our own instruments have recorded them, but the Science Council ignored them, the Admiral finished, because they didn't want to admit there could be a flaw in our technology. He stopped pacing and looked out at the stars. The Nigma Empire had ruled space for 10,000 years. Their technology was supposed to be perfect. Their power was supposed to be absolute. But the universe didn't care about empires or power. It worked according to its own rules. Rules that even the mighty Nigma couldn't break. Prepare a secure transmission to the Imperial Council, he ordered. Mark it highest priority. What will you tell them, Admiral? Asked his aide. Admiral Zekatar's scales shifted through several colors as he considered his answer. The truth, that we face a choice between changing our ways or destruction, and that humans, beings we considered primitive, might be our only hope for survival. The aide looked shocked. The Council will resist such news. Then let them come see for themselves, the Admiral said harshly. But they must decide quickly. Every FTL jump we make brings us closer to disaster. As the aide left, Admiral Zekatar turned back to the stars. The Empire had conquered countless species across the galaxy. Now, for the first time, they faced an enemy they couldn't defeat with weapons, the laws of physics themselves. And their only allies in this fight were humans, a species they had planned to conquer. The irony was not lost on him. 3 days passed with no word from the Nigma Empire. On Earth, military forces stayed on high alert. The giant Nigma ship still waited at the edge of the solar system, not moving closer, but not leaving either. In the main command center of Earth, Alliance headquarters, President Sam Carter met with Commander Kate Winters and General Laura Reyes. Large screens showed the positions of both human and Nigma ships in space. Still no answer to our offer? President Carter asked, looking tired from many sleepless nights. Kate shook her head. Nothing official. Our spies report fighting among the Nigma leadership. Some believe our warning, others think it's a trick. Time is running out, General Reyes said, pointing to one of the screens. Our sensors show microtears forming faster now. If they make one more big fleet jump, it could trigger the cascade failure. President Carter rubbed her eyes. And contingency. Omega? Is it ready if we need it? The general nodded grimly. Yes, Madam President, but it's only a last resort. We don't know if it will work, and even if it does. She didn't finish her sentence. Everyone knew what contingency Omega meant. A desperate move that might save Earth, but at a terrible cost. A young officer rushed into the room. Madam President, Commander, we're getting a transmission from the Nigma mothership. Put it on the main screen, President Carter ordered, straightening her jacket. The screen lit up, showing Admiral Zakatar. He looked different. His scales duller, his posture less proud. Behind him stood several other Nigma officials, some looking angry. President Carter, the Admiral began, the Imperial Council has reviewed the evidence about the space-time tiers. He paused, and Kate noticed how some of the Nigma officials behind him seemed uncomfortable. One in particular, who Kate recognized as Vice Admiral Archival, looked openly hostile. The evidence is compelling, Admiral Zakatar continued. However, there is disagreement about how to proceed. Abandoning our FTL technology would weaken the Empire significantly. We understand your concern, President Carter replied. That's why we've offered to share our alternative FTL method. It will allow your Empire to continue operating, just more safely. Vice Admiral Archival stepped forward, pushing into view. And why would humans help their would-be conquerors? What do you really want in return? Peace, said President Carter simply. A promise of non-aggression and open relations between our peoples. Nothing more. Pretty words, sneered the Vice Admiral. But I think you're hiding something. Perhaps. Your warnings are just a trick to make us give up our military advantage. Admiral Zikatar turned to his fellow officer. The evidence was verified by our own scientists, Archival. You saw the demonstration yourself. A clever illusion, Archival insisted. These humans are more cunning than we thought. The two Nigma leaders stared at each other, and Kate could feel the tension even through the screen. This wasn't just a scientific disagreement. It was a power struggle within the Nigma Empire. President Carter spoke carefully. We have no reason to trick you, Vice Admiral. If we wanted to see the Nigma Empire fall, we could have simply remained silent and let you destroy yourselves with your next major fleet action. Admiral Zakatar nodded. This is what I told the Imperial Council. The humans could have kept this knowledge to themselves. Vice Admiral Archival's scales darkened with anger. So you believe these creatures over your own kind? Perhaps you are not fit to command the fleet, Zakatar. Before the Admiral could respond, alarms began to sound on both the human and Nigma sides of the transmission. A human officer rushed to General Reyes, whispering urgently in her ear. The general's face paled. Madam President, we're detecting a massive power buildup in the Nigma fleet. Multiple ships are preparing for an FTL jump. On the screen, Admiral Zakatar was receiving similar news from one of his aides. He turned to Vice Admiral Archival in shock. What have you done? Archival stood tall, his scales now a deep, aggressive purple. I've taken command of the loyal ships in the fleet. We will not be fooled by human lies or weakened by cowardly leaders. The attack on Earth begins now. Admiral Zakatar lunged toward him, but two armed Nigma guards blocked his way. You fool! You'll kill us all! Cut transmission, Vice Admiral Archival ordered, and the screen went black. The command center erupted in activity. 17 Nigma warships are powering up their FTL drives, reported an officer. They appear to be positioning for a coordinated jump directly to Earth orbit. If they do that, Kate began, the micro-tiers will connect and trigger the cascade, finished General Reyes. Just as we showed them in the demonstration, President Carter's face hardened. How long do we have? 5 minutes, maybe less, reported the officer. Contact Admiral Zakatar's ship, ordered the president. Try to reach anyone still loyal to him. Kate moved to a communication station and worked quickly. After tense moments, the screen lit up again, showing not the command deck, but what looked like a detention area. Admiral Zakatar was there, guarded but able to speak. Commander Winters, he said urgently. Archival has staged a coup. He's convinced enough captains that your warnings are a trick. They're preparing to jump to Earth for a surprise attack. Admiral, you must stop them, Kate pleaded. Our sensors show the micro-tiers are already connecting. If they make that jump, the cascade failure will begin. The Admiral's scales paled. I cannot stop them from here. Archival has locked down communications to the other ships. General Reyes stepped into view. Then we have no choice. Madam President, we need to activate Contingency Omega now. President Carter closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. Do it. Admiral Zakatar looked confused. What is this Contingency Omega? Kate met his gaze through the screen. A last resort. We created a device that can trigger a controlled space-time collapse. It will destroy the rebel ships before they can jump, containing the damage to a small area. You would sacrifice the loyal Nigma ships as well? The Admiral asked. We have no way to tell which ships are which, General Reyes said grimly, and we have no time. A young scientist rushed into view, joining Kate at the console. It was Alan Meyer, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Wait, I've been working on the Nigma drive signatures. Each ship has a unique pattern. If Admiral Zakatar can identify which ships are still loyal to him, we might be able to spare them. 2 minutes to jump sequence completion, called out an officer. Admiral Zakatar moved closer to the screen. I can give you the command codes for my loyal ships. Will that help? Alan nodded, typing furiously at another console. Yes, give them to me now. As the Admiral recited a series of complex codes, Alan entered them into his system. On a large display, some of the Nigma ship symbols changed from red to green. Targeting Contingency Omega on remaining hostile vessels only, Alan announced. Firing in 30 seconds. May the stars forgive us, murmured Admiral Zakatar. In the silence that followed, Kate watched the display showing the rebel Nigma ships, still preparing for their jump to Earth. They had no idea what was coming. Device activated, Alan reported. Quietly. On the screen, a small flash appeared near the rebel ships. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, space itself appeared to fold around the ships. They didn't explode. They simply vanished, pulled into a swirling darkness that closed in on itself and disappeared. The loyal Nigma ships, marked in green on the display, remained untouched. Admiral Zakatar stared in wonder. What did you do? Kate let out a shaky breath. We created a controlled version of the cascade failure, focused only on the rebel ships. It pulled them into a localized space-time collapse, then sealed itself. The micro-tiers? The Admiral asked. Alan checked his readings, beginning to stabilize. Without the massive energy from the rebel fleet's drives, they're no longer connecting. We've avoided the full cascade. Admiral Zakatar's guards suddenly lowered their weapons and bowed to him. One spoke urgently in the Nigma language. What's happening? Asked President Carter. News of Archival's defeat has spread through the fleet, the Admiral explained. The coup has failed. I am being restored to command. He looked directly at Kate. It seems we owe you our lives twice over now. President Carter stepped forward. Then perhaps it's time we discuss that peace treaty, Admiral, and the sharing of our safer FTL technology. Admiral Zakatar bowed his head. Yes, I think the Nigma Empire has finally learned to listen when humans give warnings. 1 month after the failed coup, humans and Nigma officials sat together in the grand meeting hall of the Earth Alliance headquarters. The room buzzed with quiet conversation as both sides prepared for the historic signing of the peace treaty. Kate Winters stood near a window, watching the unusual sight of Nigma ships peacefully orbiting Earth alongside human vessels. It seemed impossible just a short time ago. Still hard to believe, isn't it? Alan Meyer said, joining her at the window. Kate nodded. A month ago they were ready to destroy us. Now we're about to become allies. Not everyone is happy about it, Alan pointed out. Some military leaders think we should have used Contingency Omega to destroy the entire Nigma fleet while we had the chance. Kate frowned. That would have made us no better than Vice Admiral Archival and his followers. Besides, we need the Nigma, just as much as they need us now. Alan looked questioningly at her and Kate explained. The space-time tiers are still out there. growing in the busiest travel routes. Our scientists estimate we have less than 2 years before they start connecting naturally, even without more Nigma jumps to trigger them. So that's why the treaty includes the joint repair project, Alan said, understanding dawning on his face. Kate nodded. Exactly. Neither of our species can fix this problem alone. It will take both human and Nigma knowledge working together. A soft chime sounded, indicating that the ceremony was about to begin. Kate and Alan took their places as President Carter entered the hall from one door and Admiral Zekatar from another. The Admiral looked different now. He wore simpler clothing, without the elaborate military decorations that Nigma officers usually displayed. Kate had learned this was a significant cultural statement, a sign that he was putting aside the Empire's traditional militarism. President Carter spoke first. Today marks a new chapter in the history of both our peoples. 1 month ago we stood on the edge of war. Now we come together as partners to face a common threat and build a shared future. Admiral Zekatar stepped forward. For 10,000 years the Nigma Empire expanded through conquest alone. We believed our power and technology made us superior to all other species. He paused, his scales shifting to a more subdued color. We were wrong. Human wisdom and courage have taught us a valuable lesson. True strength comes not from domination, but from cooperation. Murmurs ran through the crowd at this unprecedented statement from a Nigma leader. The treaty was placed on a table between the two leaders. Kate had helped write it over many long days and nights. It contained 3 main parts: peace between humans and the Nigma, the sharing of Earth's safer FTL technology, and a joint project to repair the space-time tiers before they could connect and cause disaster. As President Carter and Admiral Zekatar signed the document, Kate felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had avoided war. They had saved both species from destruction. Now the real work could begin. 2 days later, Kate stood with Alan and Olivia in the newly established Joint Research Center near Jupiter. The space station had been quickly converted from a human military outpost into a shared scientific facility. All around them, human and Nigma scientists worked side by side, studying data and building equipment. The repair device is almost ready for its first test, Olivia reported, showing Kate a schematic on her tablet. It uses principles from both human and Nigma technology. Kate studied the design. How does it work? Alan pointed to different parts of the schematic. It creates a special energy field that encourages the natural healing of space-time. The tiers will close much faster with this help, in months rather than centuries. But we'll need hundreds of these devices, Olivia added. And they'll have to be placed at strategic points throughout the galaxy, especially along the old Nigma travel routes. A tall Nigma scientist approached them. Kate recognized him as scientist V.K. Moore, who had been one of the first to take the human warning seriously. Commander Winters, he greeted her, his translator making his voice sound almost musical. Our ships are ready to begin mapping the worst tiers. We've converted 20 exploration vessels to carry the detection equipment your scientists designed. Thank you, Scientist V.K. Moore, Kate replied. How soon can they depart? Within hours, he said. Though they must travel using your slower but safer FTL method. Better slow than dead, Alan commented, and to Kate's surprise, the Nigma scientist made the blinking gesture that indicated laughter. Indeed, Dr. Meyer. A wisdom my people are finally beginning to appreciate. As V.K. Moore left to oversee the final preparations, Kate turned back to the viewport, watching the activity outside the station. Nigma and human ships moved in careful coordination, their crews working together on the enormous task ahead. I still can't believe how quickly things have changed, Olivia said quietly. Not everyone has changed, Kate reminded her. There are still many in the Nigma Empire who think like Archival. They see cooperation as weakness. And some humans think the same way, Alan added. General Pike and his supporters continue to argue that we should be preparing for war, not working with the Nigma. Kate sighed. Old ways of thinking died hard. That's why this project needs to succeed. We need to show both sides that we can accomplish more together than apart. A message chimed on Kate's communicator. It was from Admiral Z. Qatar asking her to join him on the command deck. When she arrived, she found the Admiral studying a large star map showing the known space-time tiers throughout the galaxy. "Commander Winters," he greeted her. "I wanted to show you our latest findings." He pointed to several areas on the map where red symbols pulsed ominously. "These tiers are worse than we initially thought. Our long-range scans show they've already begun to connect in some regions." Kate's heart sank. "How long do we have?" "Less time than we estimated. Perhaps 1 year, not 2. The Admiral's scales shifted to a worried gray color. "The repair devices must be deployed as soon as possible." "We'll speed up production," Kate promised, "and your ships can help place them where they're most needed." Admiral Zektar turned away from the map to face her directly. "There is something else I must tell you. The Imperial Council has officially renamed our government. We are no longer the Nigma Empire." Kate looked at him in surprise. "What are you called now?" "The Nigma Confederation," he said. "It is a small change in words, but a massive change in meaning. No longer an empire built on conquest, but a confederation of worlds working together." He paused. "Your people showed us a better way forward, Commander, one we would never have found on our own." Kate smiled. "Sometimes outsiders can see things that those inside cannot." "Yes," the Admiral agreed. "You humans have a saying about that, I believe? Something about forests and trees?" "Sometimes. You can't see the forest for the trees," Kate said. "It means when you're too close to something, you miss the bigger picture." "A wise expression," the Admiral said. "The Nigma were lost among the trees of our own pride for 10,000 years. Thanks to humans, we can finally see the forest." Outside, the viewport. The first ships carrying repair devices moved away from the station, beginning their vital mission to heal the wounds in space-time before it was too late. 1 year passed since the signing of the peace treaty. Throughout the galaxy, human and Nigma ships worked together, placing repair devices at the most damaged areas of space-time. The work was hard and dangerous, with crews having to navigate close to unstable tiers that could expand without warning. Kate Winters now served as the human leader of the joint repair mission. She stood on the bridge of the Harmony, the first ship built using both human and Nigma technology. Around her, a mixed crew of humans and Nigma worked at their stations, monitoring the largest repair operation yet attempted. "All repair devices are in position," reported Frank Bennett, who had been with Kate since their first encounter with the Nigma. Kate nodded. "Begin activation sequence." Outside the ship, 50 large devices formed a ring around an area of space that looked darker than its surroundings. To the naked eye, it appeared simply as a shadow against the stars, but the ship's sensors showed the truth. A massive tear in space-time that was growing larger each day. "Devices powering up," said scientist Veek Moore, who served as the Nigma second-in-command of the mission. Energy field forming. On the main screen, they watched as a soft blue glow spread from each device, forming a web that surrounded the tear. Where the energy touched the damaged area, the darkness seemed to lighten slightly. "It's working," Alan Meyer said from his science station. "The tear is beginning to close. Estimated healing time, 6 hours." Kate let out a small sigh of relief. This tear had been one of the worst, located at a point where many Nigma travel routes had crossed. If it had been allowed to grow and connect with others, it could have triggered the cascade failure they had been working so hard to prevent. "Message from Admiral Zekatar," Frank announced. "The repair operations in the Orion sector are complete. All tiers there have been sealed." Good news had been coming in steadily over the past month. The combined efforts of humans and the Nigma Confederation were succeeding. The worst of the space-time damage was being repaired faster than new tiers could form. "Commander," VK Moore said, "there's something you should see." Kate moved to his station, where he displayed a different sort of map. It showed not the tiers in space-time, but the political boundaries of the former Nigma Empire. "What am I looking at?" Kate asked. "The latest political changes," VK Moore explained. The green areas show worlds that have fully joined the new confederation. The yellow ones are still deciding. And the red ones are still loyal to the old empire, Kate finished for him. K. Moore's scales shifted to a concerned blue-gray color. Yes, and they're growing more vocal in their opposition to our alliance with humans. Some are calling Admiral Zikatar a traitor. Kate studied the map with concern. Most of the Nigma worlds had accepted the change, but a significant minority, about 20%, were resisting. They wanted to return to the old ways of conquest and domination. Do they pose a threat to the repair mission? She asked. K. Moore hesitated. Not directly, but there have been incidents. Repair ships blocked from entering certain systems, threatening messages sent to crews. Kate frowned. Change never came easily, especially for a civilization as old as the Nigma. For 10,000 years they had believed in their own superiority. Some would never accept a new way of thinking. Keep me informed of any serious problems, she told V. Kamor. We can't let politics interfere with the repairs. There's too much at stake. 3 days later, Kate was called to an emergency meeting aboard the Nigma flagship, where Admiral Zikatar was waiting with a grim expression. Commander Winters, he greeted her. We have a serious situation. He showed her a recording from a repair mission in a distant system. A team of human and Nigma workers was setting up repair devices when 3 ships appeared. They were Nigma design but painted with red symbols that Kate didn't recognize. Rebels, the Admiral explained. Followers of Vice Admiral Archival's ideals, though he himself died in the coup attempt. In the recording, the rebel ships opened fire on the repair team. 2 workers died instantly. The rest barely escaped in their shuttle. This is the 3rd such attack this week, Admiral Zikatar said. The rebels are growing bolder. Kate felt cold anger rising within her. What do they hope to accomplish? Don't they understand the danger the tiers pose to everyone? They believe. It is a human lie, the Admiral said. They think we've been tricked into giving up our empire for nothing. Even after all the evidence, the demonstrations, the actual repairs that are visibly working, the Admiral made a gesture that Kate had learned was the Nigma equivalent of a sad shrug. Some minds cannot be changed, Commander. They see what they wish to see. Kate thought for a moment. We need to increase security for the repair teams and speed up the remaining operations. Agreed. But there's another problem. The Admiral showed her a different star chart. Our long-range scans have detected a new development. The rebels are gathering a fleet here, near the oldest and largest tear in space-time. Kate studied the location. That's where the Nigma first developed FTL travel, isn't it? Yes. The area has been heavily damaged by thousands of years of jumps. We had scheduled it for repair next month, but now the rebels are in the way, Kate finished. What are they planning? The Admiral's scales darkened. According to our intelligence, they plan to use their fleet to launch an attack on Earth. They believe if they destroy the human homeworld, the Nigma will return to their former glory. Kate felt her blood run cold. But a fleet-wide jump from that location would trigger exactly what we've been trying to prevent, the Admiral said. The Cascade failure. 2 weeks later, a joint human Nigma fleet approached the rebel gathering. Point. Kate stood on the bridge of the Harmony, which now served as a command ship. Admiral Zikatar's flagship flew alongside, and dozens of other vessels from both species formed a protective ring around special ships carrying repair devices. The rebels have spotted us, Frank reported. They're moving to intercept. On the main screen, Kate could see the rebel fleet. 30 ships of various sizes, all bearing the red symbols of the true empire, as they called themselves. Open a channel to their commander, Kate ordered. After a moment, the screen changed to show a Nigma officer with bright orange scales, a sign of aggression in their species. This is Commander Winters of the Joint Repair Mission, Kate said. We are here on a peaceful mission to repair space-time damage in this region. Please stand down and allow us to proceed. The rebel commander made the blinking gesture that indicated contempt. We do not recognize your authority, human. The Nigma Empire does not take orders from lesser species. The Nigma Empire no longer exists, Kate replied calmly. It has been replaced by the Confederation, which works with humans as equals. A temporary aberration, the commander sneered. Once we destroy your homeworld, the true Nigma will rise. Again. Admiral Zikatar joined the conversation from his ship. You are making a terrible mistake. If you attempt to use your FTL drives in this area, you risk causing a cascade failure that could destroy not just your fleet, but many Nigma worlds as well. More human lies, the rebel said dismissively. Our drives have served us for 10,000 years. They are perfectly safe. Kate tried one more time. Please scan the area yourself. You'll see the space-time tiers all around you. They're already connecting. Any large energy surge could trigger the cascade. But the rebel commander had ended the transmission. On the tactical display, Kate could see the rebel ships beginning to power up their old-style FTL drives. They're preparing to jump, Frank reported. Admiral Zikatar's voice came through the comm. All ships, prepare to deploy repair devices immediately. Target the largest tiers first. The special ships in their fleet moved forward, launching the repair devices toward the damaged areas of space. Meanwhile, the rebel fleet continued its preparation for the jump to Earth. They're not going to stop, Kate said grimly, and we don't have time to repair all the tiers before they jump. Then we have one option left, the Admiral replied. The focused containment field. Kate understood immediately. They had developed the technology as a last resort, a way to contain a cascade failure if one began, but it had never been tested at this scale. Do it, she ordered. Special emitters on their ships activated, creating an invisible field around the rebel fleet and the worst of the tiers. If the cascade began, it would be contained within that area, saving the rest of the galaxy. Rebels are at 90% power, Frank reported. Jump imminent. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. Then, the rebel ships vanished in a flash of light as they jumped. For a moment nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to shudder. Where the rebel fleet had been, a darkness appeared, spreading quickly as the tiers connected. The cascade had begun. Containment field holding, Alan reported, his voice tense. The cascade is contained. On the screen, they watched in awe and horror as space folded in on itself within the containment field. The rebel fleet was gone, along with a sphere of space several light minutes across. Finally, the darkness faded. Where the cascade had occurred, only empty space remained. The tiers were gone, along with everything inside the containment field. It's over, Admiral Zikatar said quietly. The last followers of the old empire are gone. Kate felt no joy, only relief that the greater disaster had been avoided. And now the real work continues, she said. We stay